Hello everyone, just want to say thank you so much for joining me this morning. What a really lovely start to the 8-week programme we had. It was lovely to get to know you all, and thank you for coming. And yeah, it was just really nice to get an idea as to what you might be thinking in terms of possibly around the idea of having a business and what that idea could be. So I think I wanted to just give you a little bit of a recap. I thought that would be quite nice. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the third type of method which is used when it comes to market research, because we touched on two today, but there is actually another one. I mean, I think I loosely mentioned what that was, but I'm going to just touch on that in a little bit more detail. So today we obviously, the idea of today's session was, to really talk about the seed of your idea. How can we get this off the ground? Or how can you come to think about what that idea might be? So we looked at some really nice case studies. It was, hopefully it was useful for you to get a bit of insight into the Sweet brand and how Amy and Jake found a solution to a problem. The fact that they found that a lot of people, certainly their age, were still drinking out of single-use plastic bottles. They realised that actually there was the potential there to come up with a brand that was, well designed. It was functional, looked good, and actually that it would have this really serious environmental message attached to it. So just to recap today, what I mentioned was that they plant a tree for every bottle sold. They give a percentage to sea life charities. And yeah, I think what they're trying to do is get people just to think about these oceans that we're polluting. And it's a huge, huge key message for them. And also Jack, I think it was interesting because what we touched on with Jack was that, he did find a gap in the market for high quality golf clubs for people coming over to Scotland to play. And actually just to hire clubs when they got here. So, he also found that gap in the market, and, things have been going really well for him since. So I think I would check out both of those brands. And I think hopefully you got a little bit from the road testing. The examples that I used there were live examples. I always use examples which I've been part of, and I've experienced firsthand. And the balance bike was such a shame actually, because I think so much money had gone into getting the idea off the ground, and a lot around the promotion of it. But in actual fact, the bit that just fell short slightly was the research around it. So. And also with the chili jam, they're doing it the opposite way. So they will not be launching this to market until they're absolutely sure that the feedback has been exactly what they want. The product is where it needs to be, the branding around it, and then they'll be ready to take this to market. So as I said today, maybe by the time we get to week 8, I might be able to give you more information on the chili jam. But for now, they're just in the research stage. So what I wanted to do is, we did touch on qualitative research and quantitative research. Now, these are two methods of research which are really important for anyone who's at that idea stage. So you don't want to get yourself into a tricky situation like the balance bike company. And in actual fact, you definitely want to be thinking a little bit more like the chili jam company. So what other marketing research or market research can I do other than perhaps just surveys? So, if you think about quality and qualitative and quantitative, yes, they're important. I always think about it as quantitative being the why. So, if you think about it, well, qualitative actually would be more the why. So quality of the feedback that you get from people. So that's what would if you keep that in front of mind, that quality, the quantity is more the numbers. It's the stats. So keep thinking qualitative and quantitative, the difference between both. And we talked about one being more stat-based. If you go to the barbers or a hairdressers and they ask you to rate them from 1 to 10, that's actually, if you think anything along those lines would come under that category. However, when we think of, I think it's a little bit more qualitative, which is the quality of the response that you get from people when you ask them the why. So why would you use this product? And why would you not use it? So those two work really well, I would say, if you're, at the early stages of this idea, to think about both. But also there's another one. It's called, it's like a mixed method. So it would be where you introduce both. So if you think about perhaps a coffee shop. So if they were going to introduce maybe a new biodegradable cup, what they would do is they could use a survey to ask people how many people are likely to use this cup. So that would give you maybe, if they start getting figures back and it comes to, let's say, 70% of customers in this coffee shop would be happy to use this biodegradable cup, which would be better for the environment. What you could also then do is you could ask them more questions around the why. So then what you're looking at is the qualitative. So the quality of their answer might give you a little bit even more to work from. So the why would they use these cups and why would they not? Well, some people might say they might not be as functional. They don't want to burn their hands. So yes, it's good to look after the environment, but the cup still needs to work. They don't want it to burn their hand and they don't want the coffee to get cold really quickly. So by doing a sort of mixed method approach when it comes to your research means that you're covering all bases. And all of this works really well together. And I think if there's one tip that you can take from today is that look at both qualitative and quantitative. And that should really help you get your idea and your business off to a good start, knowing that you've really, really tested the market. So hopefully that has been useful. I am really looking forward to catching up with you next week when we'll be, business planning like a pro. I've got lots of live examples to share with you again, and I look forward to it. So have a lovely week and I'll see you soon.